Welcome back to Switchpoint Final Weapons Nintendo Focus podcast, and we finally returned for a second episode this August in episode 17 today. Whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, we're super excited for this episode, and thank you so much for tuning in. We've tried to record here and there over the last couple of weeks, but as you might have seen, it's been really busy with Gamescom and everything else. But regardless, super excited to dive in today to, some of Nintendo's presentations this month, including the partner showcase. And I think that's where we want to start. So you want to kick us off of this amazing, huge Nintendo Switch 2 partner showcase we had?
Yes, it was a very big Nintendo partner showcase where we started with the game everyone wanted from this showcase, Monster Hunter Stories 3, Twisted Reflection. Not the Monster Hunter game I imagine everyone was hoping they would see during this showcase. I know myself had a bit of a reaction at first when I saw Monster Hunter. I was like, oh god, are they porting Wilds to the Switch 2 already? Nope, just a new entry in the Stories franchise, which I'm sure has its fans. Personally, I never really clicked with the Stories series, but it's a cool enough entry for fans to look forward to if people like that series. I think it has its fans. It has to if they're making three.
Yeah, it has some fans, and like I'm definitely like, okay, that's a really cool, announcement. I know that we had kind of talked about previously that Capcom definitely had needed, a fourth major title for next year, and I think this is it, having been Onimusha, Way of the Sword, Pragmata, Resident Evil 9 Requiem, and now Monster Hunter Stories 3. So it's good to see, and there will all, of course, be a expansion for Monster Hunter Wilds likely out next year. But I definitely understand kind of the oh man pullback reaction because a lot of people wanted Wilds. But I will say, you know, let's wait and see what happens next year. But this is still, good third party presence to see them putting this on Switch too.
Agreed. I think it's, you know, as a starter for this partner showcase, it's a bit weak, but, you know, I guess it could be worse. And like I said, it clearly has its fans out there, and it is another mark of Capcom clearly trying to support the Nintendo Switch 2, easing it in with the easy stuff at first before they start getting into the really big deals like Resident Evil, a mainline Monster Hunter, and so on and so forth.
Definitely. So after Monster Hunter Stories 3, we had a new Katamari game. Really exciting. I think that Katamari is a great series, so looking forward to that. But then this kind of kicked off the, bunch of Bandai announcements. Well, we had the Ubisoft Just Dance 2026, which looks creepier than ever, I do have to say.
That I'm still so surprised that that series is hanging on by a thread. I mean, I imagine it's a very easy game for casual audiences, families and things like that. But I mean, how many people are still buying Just Dance every year? I don't know.
More than you would think. More than you would think. Yeah, I haven't seen I've seen key art previously, but kind of seeing it in motion with like the creepy faces and stuff was weird. Like I was like, this is kind of creepy, honestly. I liked it better when they were kind of just silhouettes and they didn't have faces. But
Yeah, and these aren't exactly old like new songs, right? I mean, some of these are
no, of course not.
decades old, like over a decade old. It feels like Counting Stars is not exactly modern track.
I feel like I was like 5 years old. No, that makes me sound like I'm like 10. I feel like I was like, Counting Stars was I don't even
I
know,
think
man.
I
That
was
that I
10.
feel so old. I feel so old thinking about that song.
Yeah, that's a
So
2010s, early 2010s song, I'm pretty sure.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, fair enough on that. So next after Just Dance, and we're just gonna kind of run through these because I feel like most of these games are worth talking about. We'll skip some of the smaller ones, but Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. So, I think we kind of expected this game to make it over to Switch at some point, and it is coming to Switch and Switch 2. But the thing about this game that is so mind-boggling, Bandai Namco has it running at 810p and 30 frames per second on Switch 2. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I I'm not really understanding how we've been getting these sort of support from big companies that's extremely lacking. We'll touch on it a bit more later, but Bandai Namco in particular has really needs to up their game. Um, and like, correct me if I'm wrong. Sparking Zero is a game key card, right?
Of course it is.
Of course it is. So yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. Like how is CD Project Red able to put out, in my opinion, the best port on the Switch 2 thus far, and that's all on the cartridge, whereas this is barely a fraction of the same power running on two different consoles, and it's a game key card because
Yeah, it's such a mess, dude. And it's just so like ridiculous that this is running at 30 frames per second in my opinion.
yeah, I don't know if it's because they're specifically making it for both Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch. There's always this case where if you make a game for the newest console and the oldest console, performance is going to tank somehow. And this may be a case of that. But either way, there's just no excuse.
There really isn't. And for the thing for me that's just mind blowing about this whole thing is they actually redesigned all of the stages for the Switch port to where they're not as demanding so the game can run on Switch. Yet that doesn't even matter for Switch 2. They use the same stages for Switch on Switch 2 and it runs at 30 frames per second still. Like, I don't know. I don't know. It blows my mind. It is a complete lack of optimization, and I refuse to believe that this could not be running at 60 frames per second, considering that we have games like Street Fighter 6 running at a perfect 60 FPS.
Yeah, absolutely. It really just boggles the mind, and I don't really remember the initial perception around Sparking Zero. I know people were hyping it up for years, and then it just sort of came out, and then that was it. So I don't even know how popular this is going to be on the Switch 2, let alone the original Switch. But we'll have to see. Hopefully, Bandai Namco gets their act together at some point. But seeing how things are going and seeing what other games are coming from them down the line for the Switch 2, it's not looking good.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I really think that, especially in this case, it's just something that I think we're continuing to see of developers refusing to optimize for the platform. And then we have people online saying, oh no, the Switch 2 is just not that powerful, which is just not the case. It's just simply not the case.
No, they've been doing impressively well with some of the ports and third party, and this isn't even taking into consideration the first party support, which has been incredible thus far, except for Dragon Drive. Um, but yeah, in general, I think the Nintendo Switch 2 is a great and powerful console, but third party developers are just not giving it the time of day.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I guess they maybe thought it would just be easy that they could just rush out something simple and like they did with the original Switch, but now they're realizing that perhaps there's no excuse. And in the past they could just release games that would have that audience on the original Switch and they pick and choose. But here, because they're just releasing everything for a Nintendo Switch 2 without care into properly optimizing it, it's just becoming a mess.
I think so too. And I think that just again, it's crazy to me because I feel that Nintendo fans have been waiting for these games and are really excited to buy them up and get these portable experiences. And then we just get these subpar ports, subpar port, subpar port. And the thing that makes it frustrating for me is again, you look at like CD Projekt Red, Capcom's examples, and they're really, really quality ports. That's what makes it so frustrating to me because the system can run the games well. The developers just don't let it.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe this will get better as as they start releasing new games for the Nintendo Switch 2 rather than, ports once we get out of that port phase, but who knows.
I don't believe it will,
Yeah.
honestly. But we'll see. Anyways, So we'll move forward. Another fun announcement from the partner showcase was Plants vs. Zombies Replanted, which is a remaster of the original game. I never really thought this would happen, but I'm honestly quite excited for it. I love PvZ, so I will happily take that system experience on the Switch and call it a day.
Yeah, it's tricky for me. I think I was also a PvZ fan as a kid, but this is one of those games that, you know, I don't know if it ever really needed a remaster. I'm not going to
No.
complain about it, but I think it just depends on how much it costs at launch, what the new offerings are, and things like that. Because I don't know, I'm not really sold. There isn't really a part of me that's, even though I was a fan when I was younger, there isn't. I'm not willing to spend over $25 on a
I think they
remaster.
confirmed it's $20.
20
And I
bucks?
the
Okay.
big yeah, I think the big thing with this remaster is that they have there's co-op now
Yeah.
and stuff like that. It's not a big it really does kind of just feel like an up just a modernized release. It really doesn't feel like a huge remaster, but I will give them credit in the sense that I do at least I like seeing this come to consoles. I think it's a very, very iconic and fun game, and all of PopCap's old library is just great. So the more of that on modern platforms, the better. And I agree with you. I don't think that this really needed it, but
Yeah. Could be worse, but, personally, I was, for a moment when I saw Plant vs. Zombies, I thought this was going to be a report or a remake of the multiplayer shooters, which I really
mm,
enjoyed. I really wanted a Garden Warfare to get new life in the modern day, but alas, maybe next time.
yeah, hopefully next time. Because I mean, Battle for Neighborville was just not good, man. Like Garden Warfare 1 and 2 were so good. I
Yeah,
hope that at least PVZ gets some attention with this release, and maybe we get another one down the line. But I don't know.
yeah. I think this is a topic for a completely different podcast, but
Yeah,
EA's shooters are sort of hit or miss for me. There's one coming out that I'm really looking forward to, which is Battlefield, but it for the most part EA is kind of now just the Apex company, which is a shame. So hopefully we get some stuff down the line. Titanfall 3, please. But we'll see.
yeah, no, literally. Yeah, so we'll move on here. Kind of, we've got Pac-Man World 2 repack. Really, kind of surprising announcement. I was really excited for it though. That's really cool of Bandai to bring that back and kind of celebrate Pac-Man and what's honestly turned out to be a pretty impressive anniversary year, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we during Gamescom we got the announcement that Pac-Man's going to be appearing in um, Crossworlds Sonic Racing, which is huge, and not what I was expecting at all. So I and we got a lot of other things here and there. Of course, Shadow Labyrinth, which was another surprise. So yeah, I think
Yeah, yeah.
Pac-Man fans are eating well compared to a lot of other platforming fans out there.
Mario. Yeah, so Pac-Man, good stuff. We got a new trailer for the Final Fantasy Tactics remaster. Looks great. Super excited for that. And then we got a big announcement, Persona 3 Reload coming to Switch 2. I'm gonna refrain from saying what I really think about this game. No, I'm actually not. I think it's
Do
one of the
it.
most overrated games ever.
Oh my
I
god.
think that Persona 3 is a good game, but I have never understood its quote unquote masterpiece appeal. So again, I actually played Reload and got the platinum. That was like I forget platinum number 76 or 77. I don't remember. It was high up for me. I enjoyed it, like good game, but I have so many problems with so many part of the game. However, regardless, my opinion is irrelevant. I'm really happy this is finally coming to Switch 2 and a bunch of people get the chance to play it because I know that, having a huge RPG like that on a, portable console is awesome. And regardless of what you think about the game, more players is a better thing for everyone, except for the fact this is a key card. So it's not.
Yeah, this is one of those complicated cases. I really liked Persona 3 Reload at launch. I thought it was a great game, and I understood why so many people fell in love with it. But as the months ticked by, and especially when I played the DLC, which was not good, in my opinion, it was not good at all. A lot of the problems with its dungeon design in particular really stood out. Story's great, characters are great, voice acting's great, but the gameplay isn't for everyone. And there were moments where I was really enjoying it, and there were moments where I was really not enjoying it. So, and the fact that the DLC is not even included in this version, and it's the $30, so you're basically paying about $100 for this game on a game key card, is kind of egregious. So, I don't know. I was really hoping that we'd get another Atlas announcement. I really wanted to see Metaphor on Switch too, because that one's a really good game. Um, but alas, that'll have to wait until the next Nintendo Direct.
Definitely, definitely. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how that sells. I hope it sells well,
Yeah.
but we'll see. I just wish that they would have done an actual physical release. So then after that, we kind of got a new trailer for Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. And I know you're actually pretty excited for this one, I think, right?
Yeah, it looks great. I think we still need to see a little bit more gameplay, but I like that it is instead of Age of Calamity, which sort of felt like a what if story in a lot of ways, this feels way more like a prequel, and I like that. I like that this is a game where Link's just not there at all for very good reasons if you know the story of Tears of the Kingdom. And we have all the characters from that era. We have Rauru and Zelda and Sonya, and I'm excited to really learn their story more beyond what was explored in the flashbacks in Tears of the Kingdom. We're already clearly starting to get some depth for the characters that only wore masks for the entire game, and seeing their faces behind the mask, their motives, and things like that will be exciting. I am actually fairly unfamiliar with the Warriors series. I've been looking for the right jumping in place, and I just never found it. So maybe this will be the start for me. But either way, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too, man. Absolutely. I mean, hey, it's great to have Zelda of some sort on Switch too in year one, and this was the answer, and I'm cool with it. So, yeah. So we had some other announcements.
EA
this isn't
Sports.
a one to one, so we're gonna skip over some stuff. Star Wars Outlaws is coming to Switch too. It looks really bad. Like I'm just gonna be blunt. Like the port does not look good. So yeah, but
Yeah.
hey, if you want to play it, great.
Play a game
There's
on. Play a worse looking game of a game that. A worse looking version of a game that's not even that good in the first place.
right, yeah. So there's that. Chronos: The New Dawn from Bloober Team is coming out, which looks like it has some promise for sure.
Yeah, I like the Silent
Um,
Hill sci-fi vibes of it. I think it'll turn out to be a great game. Hopefully, when it comes out, especially considering Silent Hill 2.
yeah, no, I agree. I think it'll be really good. From everything we've seen, I mean, I have no reason to believe not.
Yeah.
There's also I was really excited about this. So Yakuza Kiwami 2 is coming to Switch 2, and they're also bringing Kiwami with updated visuals to Switch 2. And I'm excited about this, like really, because Yakuza Kiwami 2 is probably just the story of Yakuza 2 is probably one of my favorites in the entire series. And I'm just so disappointed this is a key card again. Like
Good old
I can't
Sega.
get over it. It's
Yeah.
just every time. It's like every time they get me excited to buy literally a what how many years old is that game at this point? So
Oh
many years old.
God, like
Like
about a decade. Yeah.
it's so old. Like Yakuza 2 in general is like 20 years old or whatever at this point. And like I'm ready to buy it, except I'm not because it's a key card. And it just it that I felt like we talked about this, Saris and I did, after the presentation aired. It's like it's so crazy how instant most of my excitement disappeared whenever they would show a game and we were super excited when the presentation ended and then the pre-orders went up and it was key card, key card, key card, key card, key card. It's like I lost almost all interest in almost every single game here.
Yeah, I agree. It's a mess, and I still need to play the remastered version of Zero. I heard it was really good. I'm pretty sure Kiwami 2 and this new version of Kiwami 2 and Kiwami, they're adding the dub, right? I think they are.
Yeah, I think so. But the interesting thing about Kiwami 2 is that it runs on Dragon Engine, which is the modernized engine that the newer games run on.
Yeah,
So that's obviously, I mean, they're
it's
going to bring the
promising.
whole series over. Yeah, they are. And it's just disappointing again because it's like, yeah, like I heard great things about Zero, except I heard that the new story content wasn't that great, but like I heard it runs amazing on the system. And I'm just sitting here like, man, I love that game. I wish I could have bought that physically, but it's a key card.
Yeah.
It's just it ruins my hype, man. It really does. Okay, so beyond that, really, we had some looks at Borderlands and Shinobi and Romancing Saga 2 Switch 2 edition. All great, all cool. But for the partner showcase, there were two games that closed it off that were a big focus, and that's The Adventures of Elliot, The Millennium Tales, and Octopath Traveler Zero. And these are two brand new HD 2D games from Square Enix. And they both look great. I think both have very interesting premises. So, Octopath Traveler Zero is actually kind of a recontextualized and rebuilt version of the mobile game that is now coming to all platforms. And you get to fully customize your protagonist. There's a lot to do. It seems really, really intuitive and cool to tie back that old mobile content in. And then The Adventures of Elliot is really interesting because this is actually the very first HD 2D action title. So it's not turn based, it's fully action. And obviously, I'm really excited to see what Asano and the team cooked up for that one.
Yeah, definitely. I think out of the two, Adventures of Elliot is the more compelling one for me personally. Just because of how different it is, and I'm always down with the time vibes. Gives me
Very,
some.
very big Chrono vibes from that
Yeah,
one,
I was
yeah.
just gonna say there's a lot of Chrono Trigger sort of flashbacks I'm getting, which is never a bad thing. So that's exciting. I did see a lot of people disappointed at kind of the way the showcase ended, which I get. Getting two, being told, oh, we have two more announcements. You think, oh, wow, this is a big deal. You get two back to back Square announcements, which are both, from an outside perspective, kind of the same type of game. And I get it, but I'm personally like, I'm more ambivalent about it. I'm not personally like super bummed out or disappointed. Octopath is another franchise that I need to be getting into at some point. I've heard great things about them both, but at the moment I'm not like super gravitating towards Zero. And Adventures of Elliot also, that looks pretty good actually. So I'm hoping that'll deliver on the hype. But in general, I think this showcase was hit or miss. It depends on what kind of games you like and what you're excited for. Personally, I was kind of in the middle. I didn't think it was absolutely awful, but it was a skippable one compared to a lot of other showcases we've had this year.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It just really, it really felt like something that was like, okay, we already knew about all these games, or like nothing here was like super exciting. Like The Adventures of Elliot was probably the most exciting thing for me of the day. And I also will say there's commentary online. There was a ton of commentary online after this presentation in particular, with a lot of people being like, oh my gosh, stop the HD 2D. We're so tired of it, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting here like, we've gotten like five or six HD 2D titles ever. Like this is not an oversaturated release genre at this point. So I hope people understand too that like Square's got a lot going on right now. These games have been able to be a way that are not, AAA costing of development that they can pump out at a way quicker rate. And they've all been really good. Like Octopath 2 is incredible. So I'm really looking forward to Elliot. I'm looking forward to Zero. But I thought it was funny that people were like acting like this is like the 20th, 21st, and 28th HD 2D games that we've gotten.
Yeah, I agree. I saw that sentiment a lot too. And I don't know. Like really the only it only feels oversaturated because we've gotten a few back to back. We got in the Dragon Quest remakes, and now these two. So it feels like it just because they're all been announced kind of in the same time frame. But if you actually look at it broader scale, this is still very much a burgeoning genre of games. And personally, I hope it goes further. I hope we get a lot more creative remakes or brand new games. I need that Chrono Trigger remake, please. But we'll see.
We will see indeed. So, yeah, I mean, who knows what is going on there, but I definitely agree it was just kind of a whatever presentation, even more so than the than the partner showcase was the indie world. So I actually didn't watch this one, but I know you did. So
I
I'm
did.
curious to hear like what your thoughts on it are.
Well, I think some announcements were surprisingly exciting. I think some things, you know, actually did make me look forward to them a little bit, but there were quite a few other announcements that didn't really hit the same. I know everyone immediately, every time there's an indie world, the comments are flooded with Hollow Knight Silksong requests. I mean, I think there are 4.4k dislikes on this, not for any other reason, just because Hollow Knight wasn't there. So, going into with that perspective, a lot of people are going to get their hopes dashed because, as we will later discuss, Team Cherry marches to the beat of their own drum. But in terms of what we got, I mean, actually, I think there was a little bit more than expected to work with. Starting with Mina the Hollower, which is, the next game from Yacht Club Studios. Looks great. I mean, Yacht Club Games, gotta get that right. Looks very fun. It looks like a very great style that they're already used to with that sort of Zelda esque vibe instead of for the Mega Man vibe that they went for with Shovel Knight. So I think that looks great. And kind of moving into the next game, Well Dweller looks fun. It looks like a great side scrolling action game. I'm not sure. What about you? What do you think of all the games we got in during the
I
indie
was
world?
I was kind of, Mina the Hollower is going to be a great game. There were some interesting announcements. I think the best one of the day was the UFO 50 Shadow Drop. I actually played a little bit of UFO 50 at last Summer Game Fest. I haven't had a chance to play the full game. I actually bought it the other day and have been playing through it on the Switch too, but it's great. It's really, really ambitious for an indie game, and I definitely was really excited to see it come to the Switch too. I mean, it's if you're unfamiliar, the concept is basically like it's this like retro collection of games, but there's 50 different games. Some of them are like, you know, 5 minutes, some of them are 10 hours, and there's 50 of them. And it's super ambitious. It's super cool. I definitely recommend checking it out.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people talking about it since the indie world, and it sounds like a very fun time. So I'm probably gonna pick it up at some point. For me, the highlights, instead of just going one by one, I'll just go over the highlights like you did. I think Neverway looks great. I saw a little bit of that also during Summer Game Fest, and it looks really fun. I like the sort of cosmic horror mixed in with the Stardew sort of setting, which is, it sounds like a recipe for a great game, and it looks fantastic. And for me, content warning actually was another big one that I was excited for, more so because of what it could represent. Content warning kind of falls into the lovingly coined new friend slop genre, which encompasses games like Lethal
Friend
Company.
slop?
Have you not heard
What?
this? I don't know
No.
how to describe it, but it's games where they're characterized by kind of cooperative adventures where they have perspective microphones and you just, play around with your friends and get up to some goofy shenanigans, whether it's in a horror setting or not. Um, the best examples I can think of are Lethal Company, Content Warning, Repo, which came out a few months ago, and Peak, which is fairly recent. All these games with very different styles, but they're meant to be sort of capture that couch co-op vibe where you're playing with friends, but with the perspective microphone, which leads to some pretty comedic moments. And in general, I just want more perspective microphone games on consoles because all of the games I just mentioned were pretty much locked to PC. And the fact that we're getting even one of them on Switch 2 is very exciting, and I hope it means more down the line. I know you personally aren't a huge fan of Lethal Company, but for me, I really want to see, Lethal Company Repo and Peak, especially on Switch 2 and other platforms.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, again, those are hugely popular games regardless of what I think. And I definitely agree with you. Like more perspective microphone games on console is a great thing. Um, bridging the gap from PC. And yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see if that kind of opens the line for like repo or something else to make the jump later on. So yeah, overall, two good presentations overall. I think next, if you don't mind, let's kind of talk about the Gamescom news and stuff that kind of came out this week. And then we have one more presentation that was almost an hour long to talk about to close things off.
Yeah, and everyone knows probably what that presentation is. But starting with Gamescom, there wasn't a lot of big Nintendo focused news, more little things that just came up here and there. During the actual presentation, I want to start with a game that is coming to Nintendo Switch 2 that made me. I don't know if violently angry is the right phrase, but I was definitely baffled looking at the screen, and that's Bubsy 4D. The fact that Bubsy is getting more preferential treatment than a lot of the modern uh, platforming mascots that have been forgotten over the years, like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, is hilarious but also really depressing. And the worst part is the game looks really fun, right? It looks really, really fun. It looks
Yeah, it
like a
looks good.
great 3D platformer, and I hope it turns out to be great. I don't remember people talking about that last Bubsy game that came out, which was a 2D platformer. I don't remember what the overall consensus was there, but
Not good.
not surprising. But 4D looks like a step in the right direction, so hopefully Bubsy breaks the curse.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, beyond that, I know there were a lot of games announced at Gamescom. The big one, obviously, that we can talk about is Team Cherry revealed Gamescom week that Hollow Knight Silk Song is releasing on September 4th for all platforms. So the reveal trailer has like 4 million views on their channel and like almost 500,000 likes. So I would say people are pretty excited. And I've seen, like, funny enough, like, I don't know, 10 games or so move their release dates and specifically state Silk Song is the reason. But I
Yep.
honestly don't blame any of the developers. I did see a really clever developer say that they're delaying the game to Q2 2026 because of Silk Song. I was like, I don't know that that's because of Silk Song, but go ahead and use that as the excuse to kind of lighten the blow, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, I am probably gonna get flamed for this in the comments, but I haven't gotten into the original Hollow Knight. It never clicked with me. In general, Metroidvanias are kind of my kryptonite. They're very hard for me to play for various reasons. But Silk Song was one of those games where everyone and their mother wanted a release date, and it's been in development for what, 7 years at this
7
point?
years. Yeah.
Yeah, and my favorite part of the whole thing was basically them explaining that the reason it took this long was because they were having too much fun developing the game, which is hilarious and also really promising. Like, I'm glad that that is something that can be said about a game that people were wanting for years and were probably harassing the Team Cherry developers quite a bit to the point of like, when is this game coming out? Why do you keep delaying it? Why don't you give us more news? And meanwhile, they're in their little bubble having the time of their lives making a game that'll probably turn out to be pretty great. So that's great.
Yeah.
I can't complain about that.
No, yeah, it's they literally said they just kept making stuff and adding stuff, and they're like, okay, wait, we actually kind of have to stop if we want this to come out. So it's really good. I'm really excited to see how it turns out to be. I will say I understand why they're doing it, but they have made the decision to not give any advanced review copies to press to honor Kickstarter backers. And I get that, but I do think that the concept of not having reviews out on launch day for consumers to look at and, use to help guide their purchase is an interesting one. So we'll definitely obviously be covering it, but it's going to be later. So,
Yeah, there have only been a few times where I've understood the need to delay review codes. If memory serves, Deltarune Chapter 1 to 4 didn't get review codes either,
no.
which makes sense. I think that is a very specific type of game that would be very weird to even review in the first place because it's technically not done yet, but there's still a lot of content that is just as much of a full game at this point. So this is a different case. I understand where they're coming from, but my knee jerk reaction whenever time someone says, "Oh, we're not giving review copies out until launch," always makes me nervous. I have no doubt that this game will turn out to be amazing and be worth all the hype of the last 7 years. But at the same time, I can't help but remember all the previous times where there have been games where they've said, "Oh, we want to wait and to give review copies until the day it launches," and that
Yeah.
turns out to be a bad sign.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, it's like I know that like there's people online that get into it and they're like, oh gosh, press don't deserve this or that. I don't care if it's us or if it's IGN or if it's anyone. I just think that as a consumer buying a product, you deserve to have reviews of people who played the product to inform you what they thought of it. You don't have to take that for the fact and the truth, but it helps at least guide people's opinions when they're unsure of whether or not to buy a product. And I think that's important.
Agreed. If this was a case though with, a bigger AAA developer like a Gearbox or an EA and they did this, I would be way more nervous. But Team Cherry have been proven. They did a great job with Hollow Knight, and everything we're seeing from Silk Song looks great. So I'm not worried
Oh,
about the
for sure.
quality of
I'm
this
I'm
game.
not worried. No, I guess it kind of can seem like I came off that way. I'm not worried whatsoever about the quality of the game. I'm just saying in principle I think that there should be review copies, but I understand why they didn't.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a complicated situation, but either way, I think Silk Song is. I'm glad that so many people finally had that release date, and I've been loving all the memes people have been making of it leaving the no release date club with Bloodborne remake or remaster and Titanfall 3 left in the back. Those games are never happening.
Yeah.
Um, but
No,
the
it's
other
interesting.
I was gonna say the other big announcement that we got from the Gamescom opening night live was Indiana Jones and the Great Circle coming to Nintendo Switch 2, which is huge. And I would not be surprised if this is the first of many Bethesda and Xbox titles that make the jump to the console. I could totally see some of their bigger games, like probably Starfield, which came out in the last few years, making the jump, and the Halo franchise eventually making the jump. But this is a big start, and I'm so glad it's with Indiana Jones and the Great Circle because I loved that game. That game is awesome.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting and I'm thrilled that they're doing it. And I think it's hilarious that people were upset about it because they're like, "Wait, this game requires ray tracing." It's like, "Yeah, the Switch 2 supports ray tracing, and even if they didn't, they're going to optimize for it." So, I'm really excited to have a game that big on the console. It's going to be awesome. I hope we get an actual physical release. Like I hope on everything. And beyond that, I totally agree. I think that 2020 I'm trying to think of the year. Oh, 2026 in general, I think it's going to be a really big year for Switch 2 third party just overall. I think obviously we've got Indiana Jones confirmed on the Bethesda side. I think we'll also see Starfield and I think we'll also see Doom the Dark Ages. Both of those make a ton of sense to me.
Agreed.
And I think that, Microsoft sees the Switch 2 as an opportunity to get as many games as in as many places as possible. And I think that you're going to start to see that with games that come out next year and beyond, that they're going to start targeting Switch 2 as well.
I think also at least one Fallout game will make the jump, and Oblivion too. Oblivion's a no-brainer.
Oblivion,
Um,
yeah, Oblivion definitely will. I agree with Fallout. I think Fallout 4 makes a lot of sense.
yeah, Fallout 4. I would love, considering Fallout Season 2 is going to have, a lot of New Vegas influence. I would love for that to get a re release. Not even a remaster, just a re release. But I doubt it because I think they want to put a lot of time into other games that potentially need that re release more. But we'll see. My hopes are high, even though it's highly unlikely. For me, my biggest announcement, the announcement that I enjoyed the most at Gamescom that is coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 was Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. I
Looks
grew up
so
on those
good.
Lego. It looks amazing. It looks honestly better than a lot of the Arkham games that have come out recently. I am a certified hater of Arkham Knight for a lot of very different reasons. And the fact that this looks like honestly one of the best Batman games we got in period, let alone Lego, is so exciting. It's at first I thought it was going to be basically the Skywalker saga for Batman where it adapts all of the games, but it's an original story taking elements from all of the movies. I said games earlier. Um, Adapting elements from all of the movies and the comics and the TV shows. There's going to be dozens of Batmobiles, dozens of costumes. It's going to feature Batman's origin all the way to his legend, where he is that, you know, terrifying force in Gotham that also happens to have a family of caped crusaders by his side. And that's so exciting to me. It kind of sounds like the perfect Batman game that I've always been wanting. And the fact that it's even a Lego game doesn't matter to me because it has difficulty levels and combos and stealth takedowns. It looks surprisingly ambitious, and that's a great thing. So I'm excited for it. I think it's going to turn out to be a surprising sleeper hit. And not to mention that this is one of the few games released, it feels like in the last few years, that is only coming to next generation, current gen platforms. It's only releasing on PS5, Xbox Series XS, PC, and Nintendo Switch 2. No original Nintendo Switch, no PS4, no Xbox One, which is huge.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's gonna make a huge difference in just what the environments look like, how technical they can get with it. But I totally agree. I mean, it looks awesome, and I think it's such a cool idea to kind of have an original story that uses elements and doesn't just necessarily one to one recreate the movies.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got the design from Matt Reeves, the Batman, chasing in the Batmobile from that movie in a scene from that movie, but the penguin is a Danny DeVito penguin from Batman Returns. And it's crazy, but I love it. It's so smart. And yeah, it's weirdly enough, I think it might be one of my most anticipated games next year.
No, I totally agree. I mean, it's nice to finally have a gosh, I mean, we've got a game here that is looking good. And for TT Games, I mean, again, this has been they haven't released a game since Skywalker Saga,
No, they
so
haven't.
super exciting to see that this is what they were up to. And I mean, I feel like you would be hard pressed to believe that this wasn't going to be a really really fun game. A lot of people are looking forward to. I mean, the social media hype has been crazy.
Yeah, it. I'm so glad that it's appearing to be so hyped up for people. My favorite thing though was because I was looking for more information about the game. Because one of the things I wasn't sure about was they say that there's only 7 playable characters, which I don't know if I believe. Um, I don't buy that for a second, especially in a Lego game, but we'll see.
No
And
way.
yeah, there's no way. But when I access the website, it asks me for my age, and I'm like, what kind of game is this? Why are you asking me for my age for a Lego game website? I'm almost curious to go back to that website and see what's the lowest you can enter. I mean, I imagine it's going to be E10 at the most. If this is a Lego game that's rated T, I will lose my mind. I'll think that's so funny if we get a Lego game that is rated T for teen. Um, and on that note, this game better be a physical cartridge. If this is a game key card, I will lose my mind.
Yeah, no, me too. Me too. But yeah, Lego Batman looks great. And I will say, not necessarily an announcement, but something that came out of Gamescom was Nintendo actually demoed off a couple games for people to check out, and two of which were really interesting. So we're going to start with the bad one, and then we'll go to the good one. So apparently, according to IGN, Elden Ring Night Rain is a miserable port on Switch 2.
I think it was the
So,
original Elden Ring.
yeah, I'm Night Rain. I'm Elden Ring Tarnished Edition is what I meant to say. It's apparently a miserable port. And this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier with Bandai Namco just not making good ports for the Switch 2. You look at Sparking Zero, and now we have Elden Ring, which should not have an issue running on Switch 2 hardware. I'm sorry, but it does. It somehow does. So I don't know, man. It really makes me wonder, especially, from software, like how is that blood, the Dusk Blood's gonna look next year?
I mean, I'm not even thinking about Duskbloods. I'm thinking about like other FromSoft games that I really want to see ported to the Switch too. I know a lot of people will say things like Sekiro and the Dark Souls series, but personally, I really want to see Armored Core 6 make the jump to Switch 2.
Me too,
And
man.
and now I'm really worried about how that'll look. Um because those should not be extremely hard games to make ports for. Both Armored Core 6 and Elden Ring are, they also released on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. So those should not be super difficult to make ports of, and yet somehow Bandai Namco is having trouble with it. And it's still a game key card, and it still will cost $70 at launch, which doesn't make any sense at all. So, and the fact that
Yeah.
they didn't let anyone do direct capture recordings of it is
Says a
even more
lot.
alarming. Yeah,
Says a lot about their confidence in the sport. So hopefully it's just a rough port and that they've already, by the time it launches, these issues are going to be fixed. But like in my opinion, there's no reason and no excuse why they shouldn't have a stable frame rate throughout the entire thing. So we'll see, but I'm not feeling amazing about it, sadly. So there's
yeah.
that. But on a positive note, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade was actually shown off at Gamescom with a demo of the bombing mission. And this game, apparently, according to Square Enix staff on site, runs at 1080p 40 FPS, which is awesome. That is in line with Cyberpunk. 40 FPS is a massive difference from 30 FPS. And I think that that is exceptional. I'm so excited for this game. It looks great on the Switch. And I feel that people do not understand just how nice it's going to be to have a massive RPG like that on the go. Like, I know I'm going to be replaying the entire thing on Switch.
Agreed. I hope they do what they did with the original release back in, oh god, 2020. And they release a demo beforehand just of the bombing mission, which would be a great way to kind of hook players in, because that was how
Hmm.
I really wanted to play Remake. Was I played the demo first and I really enjoyed it. In general, I think releasing demos on digital stores is kind of a lost art, but that's another completely different conversation. But as a whole, I think the fact that Remake looks as promising as it does is so exciting, and it gives me so much hope for when they eventually port over Rebirth.
Yeah, the Rebirth port's going to be great. I have no doubt, but I'm really glad that this game is looking well. The only thing that they have to do now is release it on a physical cartridge. That's all we need.
Yep.
No game
Here's
key card.
hoping.
So, after that, we really just have one last topic for today, and that's the Kirby Air Riders Direct, which was just incredible. I'm so excited for this game. It's coming out on November 20th, and there's kind of a decent bit to talk about with everything we saw.
Yeah, absolutely. This was another case where, just like with Bonanza, the I was going into the direct not really too certain about the game. This actually more so than Bonanza, because I never played the original Air Ride, and I didn't really have anything really to jump into. Of course, I like the Kirby franchise. Who doesn't? But the actual direct, especially with how long it is, was so good and sold me on the game. I started out being really worried, but by the end of it, I was all in, and I cannot wait for this game to come out.
Me either. And I really do think that this is a game that is going to be better, for me at least, than Mario Kart World. And I hate
You
saying
probably aren't
that.
wrong.
I hate saying that because I think that Mario Kart World, mechanics wise, is probably, in gameplay wise, might be the best Mario Kart game. But I just had a lot of issues with it, and it just really soured my experience at launch. The online stuff was such a mess. I still feel like it's so limited in modes and everything. And there's just really been no updates or character additions or anything since launch. And it's like, okay, but Kirby Air Riders looks so unique. I mean, it does really just seem like Sakurai just made the same game, but like with updated graphics and stuff in many ways, with a couple new features. But I'm totally okay with that because this was clearly a super passion project for him. And you can just tell that overall this was a huge labor of love. Every aspect of that presentation just showcased that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it does me good to see Sakurai in a presentation again. I love that the first thing it opens with, and this is what, like the first Sakurai presentation we've had since,
Since Sora.
yes, in Sora, which
Yeah.
was 2023, I think? Or was it 22?
2021.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Oh, God, I forgot how this game came out in 2018. Jeez. With Smash Brothers came out in 2018. But the fact that he immediately opens with, "Oh dear, making a good game is so hard," just immediately knew we're in good hands. And his humor, I think Sakurai. This shouldn't be a hot take, but I think Sakurai is easily the best presenter in the business. The way he talks, the way he articulates things, makes it so easy for a beginner to follow along, and makes it so interesting for someone who is in the know about game development. And you watch a little bit of this, maybe you'll want to become a game developer, who knows, especially on his YouTube channel. And
Right.
again, his humor is on point. I love where the he just pauses for a moment to kind of sit on, is this game a Mario Kart clone? Basically, yeah, but also not really at all. And that's sort of what the presentation is meant to emphasize, is that this is a very different game from Mario Kart in a lot of ways. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you'd like to kick off with the beginning of the presentation and kind of how they explain the mechanics.
Yeah, and I will say like on that, like I was talking to a friend the other day and I said that, I was so excited to see Sakurai in a presentation because it's been 4 years, but more importantly, like I genuinely do believe that he is one of like the top 10 developers in the industry just in terms of everything that he has to offer and that he does. And he's just so charismatic with his presentation on screen. And I do think that we will be getting another direct of some sort. He kind of teased at the end that there was a lot they didn't have to show, or they didn't show at least. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'll just say I wouldn't be surprised if there's another Sakurai presentation, albeit on a smaller scale. But yeah, they kind of showed off that this time you actually in this game you can ride with all Kirby characters. So you don't just have to play as Kirby and like colored Kirby's. You can play as pink or whatever color you want, but you can also play as a lot of Kirby enemies. King Dedede, all of these other ones, Waddle Dee, and it's really funny. It seems like they're really getting into the nitty gritty of like picking these characters, and I think we have 12 confirmed so far, but there's definitely going to be at least six more.
Yeah, I agree. I was really nervous at the start of the direct when they first showed off the initial five characters because I thought that was it, right? I thought that was all we were getting for this game, and I was so nervous. I'm like, how are you going to make a racing game with only five characters? And yeah, the initial we got Kirby, Bandana Waddle Dee, very important distinction, Mennonite DDD, and Chef Kawasaki. Then they revealed Cappy the Mushroom, and then they did another burst of reveals where they showed off Magalore from Return to Dreamland, Susie from Planet Robobot, Waddle Doo, Knuckle Joe, which are just basic enemies, and
Gooey as well,
Gooey.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think from, I don't know which Kirby game he's from. I'm so sorry. And then the last reveal was Starman, who I forgot existed, but he gives you the high jump power up in Return to Dreamland and Adventure 2. and I loved it because everyone was just making Superman jokes online, and I thought it was so funny. But I had a moment where I'm like, who is Starman? I've never heard of Starman in my life. I thought it was Starfy for a second, and yeah, I think somewhere in the 8 to 10 range were the announced characters we got so far. I imagine we'll get more. We got that little post credits tease, whatever you want to call it, at the end of the showcase.
Brand new
So,
character, looks
brand new
like.
character.
Yeah.
Gave me Dark Matter vibes, which I'm always into.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm hopeful we get some more representation from throughout the franchise, from, Triple Deluxe and, of course, Forgotten Land. But we'll see. I think the character roster is great. And also the amount of machines, which are basically the vehicles in this game. There's so many, and the variety is so fun and exciting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I also found like speaking on just the different options and stuff, like it's so funny to me that Sakurai actually broke Kirby lore and all
Yeah,
of anyone, any rider as they're called, any rider is able to get an unlock one of the power-ups and use it and get the costume.
yep. Any single character can use copy abilities, which is insane considering we just got a game with all of the Kirby side characters and they can't use copy abilities. They are like it's Star Allies, right? Kirby Star Allies has so many playable characters, and only Kirby can use copy abilities. And Sakurai's like, that's just a suggestion. We can work around that. I'm
Right.
glad that he beat the slander because I saw a lot of slander before this direct came out of Sakurai refusing to use modern Kirby characters like Magalore and Susie and other characters like that. And I never bought that. I never understood why people thought that that was a thing. Um, because Smash Ultimate had quite a bit of representation from throughout Kirby's franchise, specifically in the spirits, of course. But yeah, I don't know why that was even a thing. And I even saw people trying to justify it, like, oh, maybe these were company mandated characters. I promise you, Nintendo does not care
People people are
if
so corny,
Sakurai.
man. People are
Yeah.
so corny. It's like Sakurai literally like I think just a problem of just society is like people just like to worry about problems that aren't problems and make them
Mm-hmm.
problems. It's like Sakurai never once had indicated that there was like a restriction or this or that. And I'm like, yeah, we get the whole reveal, and it's like, wow, he actually included everyone like we thought he was going to. That's awesome. It's like that's great. I agree with you. I'm so glad that it shut that narrative down.
Yeah, agreed. And again, I don't even know why that was a thing in the first place. Even if, for some reason, maybe that wasn't his first thought. Sakurai has had a history of going deep when it comes to franchise lore. I mean, for when he was adding Terry Bogard to Smash Ultimate, he brought in like 30 or 40 SNK characters you could see in the background and 40 music tracks from throughout SNK's history. This guy does his research. He's not going to just skip out and only pick the side characters. He's going to go all in.
No,
And
exactly.
I don't get it why this is still something that people are trying to bounce around. I promise you, Nintendo does not care if Sakurai adds in Magalore or Gooey. I think that's the least thing of their mind. I think they know to give Sakurai whatever he wants. So yeah, I think that's something we can leave behind. Again, I really hope we get more various characters when the game launches. Um, but yeah, I'm excited, and the gameplay looks so much fun. I never really understood the air ride races, how they worked, and it's completely different from Mario Party and Mario Kart. Jeez, um, and I was watching a reaction, and someone made a good point that has a very arcadey vibe to it, which I really adore.
Yeah, no, it does. It really does seem like an arcade game in a way. And it is like so fast and crazy. And I just love how this was approached. It is so faithful to the original, but he's added enough to make it distinct, obviously. But man, I'm just so excited to see how this shakes out.
Agreed. And of course, they brought back City Trial, which was great. I'm so glad. I mean, they had to, right? They had to bring that back. That was the most beloved mode in the original Air Ride, but he's gone all out. There's 16 playable characters, well, 16, up to 16 you could have in a lobby online, and there is split screen. This game will have split screen,
Yeah.
and there are so many things to collect. There are so many more mini games or stadiums to access once you've collected all the resources. It looks like so much fun. I was watching this with a friend and we were joking of, of course you can steal someone's machine if they leave it behind. And I kind of had a thought of, oh god, I hope you can't steal someone's machine while they're riding it, because that would cause a lot of rage.
Oh, yeah, that's I didn't even think about that. That would be like super infuriating.
Especially at the last minute, right? Like right before the time runs out, you just steal someone else's machine and
Mm-hmm.
then you just go into the race with that and they're left with whatever you gave them.
Oh my
Honestly, now
gosh.
that I'm saying it, I hope that that's a thing because that'll be really funny.
No, that would be super funny. I'm really curious to see like what else we have in the game because again, it really did seem like that Sakurai kind of hinted at like that there's more than what they showed at during the presentation.
Yeah, I agree with that. I will say if this was all, right? If everything they showed in this presentation for some reason happened to be everything that this game had to offer, I would be a little cautious. And not because it's lacking on content or anything, but you come to expect more. And this is one of those games where you really have to get your hands on it to really sort of figure out how you're going to click with it. But yeah, only that few characters would be a bit of a bummer. So I'm glad that it seems like they're introducing more. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of story mode, considering what we got at the very end. Um, and Sakurai does like to go all out when it comes to story modes. I think the only exception was Smash 4, but yeah, it's. I think there is more than meets the eye, which is good because otherwise I would be a little nervous.
No, I agree. I was gonna say if this is all that the game has, and people can point to like I'm gonna make a point like the game is $70, right?
Yeah,
And people can be like, well, that's the new 60. Well, I don't really care. Like, like
right.
if this is the amount of content, I would not feel comfortable paying $70 for this. And as much as I love Sakurai, like I'm still gonna buy. I'm gonna support it regardless because it's Sakurai and it's a Kirby game and whatever else. But I also just kind of say here, like I do hope that there is like some sort of campaign or something in addition to what we saw, and maybe some additional online modes. Just because again, it does feel a little limited right now. But again, I don't think this is everything. I'd be really shocked,
No.
honestly, if this is everything.
Yeah, Sakurai has a tendency to kind of wait to reveal the bigger stuff towards right before launch. I mean, they did not reveal anything about the spirits mode and the main story of Ultimate until I believe like the month before the game released. And that was it.
Yep.
So he has something more in store. We've kind of come to expect that from Sakurai. But overall, I think this game looks great. I went from being not too excited about it to it being, one of my more anticipated games in the second half of the year. Um, Personally, and I know a lot of Sonic fans are gonna hate this, but you balanced it out with the Mario Kart hate. Looks way better than Crossworlds to me. Um, Crossworlds has been really disappointing me, mainly with the lack of voices for the DLC characters. I don't understand how you can't have sound effects for Hatsune Miku. She's literally a text to speech character, but that's another conversation. But yeah, I think Kirby Air Riders looks great. That's the end of the. That's kind of my last note on it. I think it's going to be really fun, and I can't wait to see more of it. I don't really have like a big character that I want to see from the game when it comes out. I think a Morpho Knight would be fun, which
Yeah.
is the scary Meta Knight variant who's attached to
Hmm.
butterflies, and just more representation from Star Allies and, of course, Forgotten Land would be great. So, either way, I'm excited.
Me too. And I definitely agree. Like, I don't have anyone right off the top of my head, but I will say I'm really, really, really excited to see who that new character is and kind of
Agreed.
what potentially we might see beyond that. But yeah, I think that wraps up really Air Riders. We're really excited for it, and there'll probably be more to talk about in the future. But in terms of, going forward, there's definitely going to be stuff for Nintendo coming up. I mean, a direct is almost a guarantee for this September. And when we get that announcement, of course, we'll be right here with predictions. And with that being said, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Switch Point. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. And be sure to let us know down below what your favorite announcement from the last couple weeks was. And if you're excited or not for Kirby Air Riders, and maybe there's a mode or a character you want to see, we'd love to hear it. But thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.